So really how you found Ehave. So they come to you as a client, I guess you take them public, and then what, like, walk me through, so that story all the way to all of a sudden you're the CEO. How does that handoff happen? What made you want to take a bigger role in the company, that kind of stuff?
Sure. So as I mentioned before, in 2013, we were brought a investment through a brokerage firm in Toronto, and they were looking for co-investors for a new technology that was being developed since 2010, which was a mega team games, and they were looking to raise money so they can start going out forward in human trials. And so in 2014, we started investing. 2015, the company decided to do an IPO. They chose the U.S. markets. They were listed on the OTC markets in 2016, and for 3.5 years, I watched the company go up, go down, raise almost $9 million, and try to get over its hump. But the sector really wasn't matured yet. We were, like I said, invested before our time, so before the wave. And back in 2019, they were approached by a large Toronto company, a private company owned by a billionaire. It's in the filings, called Zayas, CYUS. And they're a large cannabinoid scientific company. And they liked the technology that Ehave had and the relationships with Aurora and MedRelief. So they bought the asset for a little over $3 million in May of 2019, closed. And at that same time, the management team, instead of staying on, decided to resign. And myself still being an investor and having other family members and friends and so on in the company as investors, there was no one there to take over. And so after evaluating it in June, I decided that in July, I'd come in and commit some of my time and energy and knowledge to see if I can turn the story around using our legacy assets, which were the video games. They were left in the company, and the technology was sold off. And so I brought in a CIO, buddy of mine, to see if we can recreate what was sold for mushrooms, for the fungi. And we started down that path back in July, August of 2019. We're almost finished with that project, and we'll be able to release it soon. And it's going to be a data collection tool. It worked a little like the dashboard it works today. Before they were called portals, so it was the Ehave portal. Today it's the Ehave dashboard. And like I mentioned, it just gives visuals instead of a Excel spreadsheet. So if someone is doing data collection in a laboratory environment, or if someone is in a retreat and they have to intake the patient, or they have to document the medications that they're taking and will take, they have to take them through their process of the psychedelics. And then after the sessions with therapists, all need to be documented and categorized. So I felt what Ehave created in the past could be recreated in the future, and using the basis of mental health as the platform. And because the cognitive games, at least last year, were still in human trials, the data it was collecting on adolescents were interesting to see if it would turn over to adults of 18 to say 50 years old with ADHD. And looking at some of the companies that were being developed in the psychedelic world, they were going after certain indications using certain drugs. And I decided that what they're going to end up doing is creating these huge data sets. And maybe we won't get all of them or some of the larger ones because they might have their own equipment or technology already. But we'll get some of the smaller players that can't afford their operating systems and some of the newer players that are doing botanicals. And we'll give a different perspective to the industry. And so I decided to take over as the CEO, as I mentioned. We've gone through a capital raise in 2019 or 2020. and we're going to go out and raise some more capital going forward to execute on the plan. It's exciting times going forward. This is the beginning of this revolution. It's not the end. And if you looked at any other of these trends like oncology, if you use that as an example, the past 30 years was unbelievable breakthroughs in technology, medications, applications, procedures for people with cancer. And mental health is, the same for the last 30 years. It's a sleepy, dream. And it's not been really attacked as much as any of these other hot areas like diabetes and so on. So I feel that the capital that will come into the sector will be large investors and speculative investors looking for the next hot storyline, as you mentioned. But we're over at Ehave, we have a base. We know what we're trying to achieve, and some of the things that we'll end up partnering with or merging with in the future or developing other games will all have to rotate around mental health. So that's our mission. We'll vie off a few times, looking at opportunities that are bolt-on, but more likely you'll see partnerships and joint ventures going forward with other companies in the sector.